Assalamu alaikum. Hi everyone. Welcome for another the most important training, I would say. Uh, Even though it's accredited NEBOSH UK, the title is Process Safety Management, and this is one of the qualification I personally like the most, actually, out of all the qualifications what NEBOSH is offering globally, because this process safety management will definitely give you a food for thought, and also uh, make you able to think like a process safety engineer, and especially to understand the real crux of the processes and how the smallest mistake can destroy and can create a terrible fire incident or explosion, especially in oil and gas industry or several high hazardous industries like paper industry is there. We have chemical industries, certain kind of pharmaceutical industries. So all these industries, of course, have a chance for different kind of fire or explosion hazards. So warmly welcome to all of you. I hope uh, this particular video will be helping you a lot. If you truly wish to be qualified as a process safety manager or kind of a process safety management officer, or even as a process safety engineer from NEBOSH UK, because it's an accredited qualification. So you truly have to use your full focus and your full energy and be passionate as a learner. Let's start our journey. And before we move on, let me tell you there would be like 4 elements that we are going to discuss. The number one is process leadership. The second, process safety leadership. And the second one is management of focus. And the third element we're going to discuss about process safety hazard control. And the fourth one is fire and explosion hazards. No doubt, whenever we talk about hazards, definitely we have to learn how to control them, how to eliminate them, or how to isolate them, or how to use some administrative or engineering or administrative controls, or using some PPs for sure. But this is not like in general, because like if you go for NEBOSH IGC, International General Certificate, so you'll be capable to understand mostly the theoretical part, but now the segmentation and the trend is changed, and they brought up a new idea with the scenario based. That means a very practical approach you required even to be qualified for this NEBOSH IGC. And if NEBOSH ID is more based on the scenario based, especially the exam, same way this process safety management, this qualification is also required a lot of in-depth study, and you have to be technically, logically very much sound, and most importantly, uh, you truly need to spend a lot of time to understand the real crux of some of the technical words, even I would say. And when I completed this qualification, we were 12 students, and luckily all achieved above 80% marks. And what we were doing is we started studying, and started supporting to each other along with our trainers even. but the key element or kind of a plan what we use is we created a WhatsApp group, and we started sharing informations and sorry, asking questions from each other, and start learning from each other. And this is how we achieve this journey, because there would be MCQs questions, and some questions with multiple options along with scenarios. So if your concepts are clear, you don't need to memorize a lot of information. If your concepts you believe are not very much clear, then you surely have to be able to remember a lot of information. So let's start with element 1, process safety leadership. And each element have certain sub parts, like, and there, of course, the learning outcome is all about, we have to understand the meaning of process safety and also the personal safety. We have to be able to explain the role of leadership in PSM. and also the purpose of organizational learning and what lessons we are learning. The biggest way to learn is to learn from your own mistakes, otherwise the mistakes of others. Like if you see 200 years old incidents videos on YouTube and find out what went wrong and how this fire or explosion incidents happen in, especially in oil and gas industry, you will definitely learn a lot of things and what lesson they learned and how they prevented later on all these incidents to repeat, not to repeat again. Anyhow, the number 4 learning outcome is all about we have to be able to explain the change and how we're going to manage this change to reduce risk and people and planet. Outline the benefits, limitations, and types of work participation and engagement, and outline the meaning by competent and its importance to process safety. So these are some of the learning outcomes. So let's start with element 1, process safety leadership. As I told you, there would be subparts this element have 6 subparts like process safety management, process safety leadership, organizational learning, management of change, worker engagement, and compliance. So total 6 subparts are there of element 1, process safety leadership. I repeat again, what is the meaning of PSM? Process safety leadership is all about, we're going to discuss in 1.2, organizational learning, management of change, that means MOC, and also worker engagement. Worker engagement, we means not I always, and competence, right? How the competence is important and how we can enhance this competence level. Okay, guys, so even though you can start discussing what is process safety and what is person safety, and what do you understand by term process safety, or how do you think the difference from personal safety? That means the difference between process safety and person safety. So you can start thinking, it's just a wake up or food for thought for all of you. But as per NEBOSH, the personal safety is all about the prevention of incidents. So it's a prevention. Personal safety is all about prevention of incidents causing injuries to individuals. So personal safety is directly belong to your employees or all other stakeholders, means your customers, your visitors, or all interested parties, whoever is coming at your side. Of course, you need to ensure their personal safety. So that's why the prevention system you required to implement, not the always the kind of action system, but you truly need prevention system, prevention of incidents causing injuries to individuals, applicable in all workplaces. So that means you have to implement a prevention system which will prevent intentional or unintentional. I repeat again, intentional or unintentional, even human errors, which can cause to or lead to a terrible incident or accident, right? Or kind of a major or minor injuries. Now, what is process safety? It's a blend of, because belong to process, that means machine would be involved and certain materials and kind of, so it's a blend of engineering and management skills, prevention or mitigation of catastrophic failures, high hazard industries are involved. So high hazardous industries, like if you're working in oil and gas industry, this qualification is very much important for you, especially if you are working as a process safety engineer or as a safety manager or safety supervisor or even officer, and even as a project manager, even electrical engineer, wherever, like it will enhance your engineering skills. Even you will be the best, safest process engineer or electrical engineer. Or so it's not like there is no boundary to go for this qualification only specific to the safety. No. Anyone who is directly or indirectly involved and working with certain high hazardous processes, you can go for this qualification to enhance your knowledge and technicality and of course the logical approach. Now the second part of this training is all about process safety leadership. Let's discuss. Now, as an examiner, since this would be having some MCQs, the questions, with some multiple options. So make sure from each slide, you have to be capable as an examiner also how to create a question, even though the answer is already available within the slide, but you must be capable how to create certain questions, like what is the difference between, the difference between personal and process safety is the following, and he will give multiple options, and then you must be capable to find out the right answer, because personal means it's all relevant to your employees, the individuals, and process means it's all relevant to engineering, right? So the second part is all about process safety leadership, and we're gonna discuss about hazard and risk awareness of leadership team. It's very much important. It's not like only the safety officer or the safety manager, they have to be trained enough. Your president, your board members, your CEO, your managing director, your project managers, your operation managers, they all have to be trained for, there must be some better awareness for them, especially relevant to hazards and risk, because they are the leadership teams. Now, in process safety, leaders need to be what? Competent and actively engaged. So you have to lead by example. That means the process safety management, this particular process is demanding, even the president of the company have to be on board, and not frequently, at least randomly, he must make some site visits and see how things are going on, because that would show his commitment also, and that is why the leaders have to be competent and actively engaged. So they can only be engaged if they are competent. And how they can be competent? Of course, you have to deliver some trainings to them. It's not like always training to the middle management, or train your top management as well. So in possession of facts and data as decision maker, aware of hazards and risk potential of their plant and sites through their life cycle. So they must be capable to understand the 360-degree knowledge of their certain processes. Like if oil and gas is there, might be you have 1,000 certain different processes. So each process have certain kind of designing requirements, or commissioning, or operations, or decommissioning. So all this whole cycle of their particular product, whatever they are manufacturing, whatever they are producing, even they must be capable to understand the key hazards and risks relevant to the design, or commissioning, or operation, or decommissioning. It's not like always relevant to the safety teams. So get involved your top leadership. Now, again, a group discussion is there. Board level commitment to process safety is often achieved by being visible. What practical measures can board members take to reinforce the importance of process safety? So this is just food for thought for you. Start thinking about it. But anyhow, the board level visibility mentioned by NEBOSH is all about the principles of process safety leadership place emphasis on board level visibility. So you have to be visible, be on board, be visible to everyone that you are engaged, you are involved as a even general manager, or as a managing director, or as a project manager, or operation manager. You are directly involved for process safety, even as a safety manager, right? So what practical measures can include? You have to be leading by example, like wearing PPs. Don't be shy to follow safety site rules, actually. So provide resource for site and the projects. Don't limitize the resources, don't shrink them, because it's a high hazardous industry. One smallest mistake can create a terrible outcome, or terrible results in terms of mega incident or catastrophic accidents, right? So supporting the risk assessment process, you have to be get involved as a leader in the risk assessment process. Carry out site visits, even asking questions. But make sure you ask the right, technically, logically correct questions. You must be capable how to create or ask such questions. Now, the process safety responsibilities that everyone has a role to play in process safety. That means janitor to general manager. Every individual is important to play a role in process safety. What but make sure you define the roles clearly for every individual. Competency and accountability must be like for the managers, but remember, might be the examiner can create a question here. The managers allocate what? The resources. Engineers, what they have to do is make sure they are designing and maintaining. And safety professional, you are the only advisors or the guideman. So your role as a safety professional is all about to provide advisory and guiding services, right? And workers, they have to follow. What they have to follow? The safety procedures, but error-free, technically sound, good safety procedures. There shouldn't be any gap, because if a procedure is technically missing some important steps, or maybe some important process parameters, disaster, anytime it will lead to a major incident, right? So make sure whatever rules you are making, whatever procedures or SOP, standard operating procedures, or kind of safety policies, even whatever you are preparing, even kind of a work instruction, make sure they are error-free, they are good enough to follow and complying all the international standards, the relevant one, which can, where you can justify that it's not your mind's capabilities, you are using and utilizing and referring some international standards as well within your procedures. Now, reasons for holding to account all individuals with PSM responsibility. Why? PSM responsibility. Why? High potential consequences. They fail to carry out responsibilities adequately because it's a complete chain management. If one person will be like ignoring, let's take an example. If a janitor is not cleaning all the areas, and there would be some combustible dust accumulation, and imagine what could happen later on if any from anywhere, if there would be ignition source, just imagine what would happen. So make sure you allocate the responsibilities in a very responsible manner, encourages engagements, and look for root causes, but the real root causes as well, the underlying root causes are important here. And please avoid, you have to bear in your mind, you have to avoid blame culture. It's not blame shame always, because in process industry, you have to understand what was missed during your input or what is not followed during the process was being done. And then of course, if input is not good or the process is not followed as per the standardized procedures, of course, the outcome would be terrible. Now, what are the responsibilities the CEO and leaders assure that organization's competence to manage the hazards of separation? Make sure at the senior leadership level, they are capable to ask critical questions. Ensure competence at all levels. You can't accept, any individual, you can't hire reference base. Just make sure the right person for the right job. If a person is misfit to your system or is not capable or not competent enough, please don't hire. Because if one incompetent person can destroy the whole process, right? Let me give you an example. If you have 100 employees, there are 100 different brains with different capabilities, competence level, education level, cultural backgrounds, a lot of other diversity is there. Even though you have to avoid from discrimination, but still the competence level, especially in high hazard industries, you truly have to ensure. Now, let's take an example of one person. If you have 12-hour shift, 12 hours, 12 hours, 12 hours multiply, we have one day, 12 hours multiply 60, because 1 hour have, so 720 minutes multiply 60. So 43,200 seconds are there. So 43,200 seconds, one brain is there working within your company at any process or within the chain of processes. Now, imagine 1 second carelessness shortcuts, unsafe act, ignoring any important process parameters, or ignoring even a smallest factor, including housekeeping might be, or any kind of smoke or spillage ignored. Just imagine what could happen here. So make sure you have to ensure competence level at all levels, lower management, middle management, and top management. So ensure that there is a continued development of expertise, especially with new law and technology. So it's a continual learning. That is why, let's take an example of Saudi Aramco. Think about before 80 years, how they were searching oil. And now just go and see what level of technology they have now, and how they are searching oil and gas. How the geological engineers and the labs and the whole technology is working. No, go back and see before 8 years how they were digging out the oil, and now see the the drilling industry, high-tech drilling industry now, and might be the nearby you will see robotic technology maybe for drilling operations. Why they are eliminating human from the high hazardous processes or industries? Because nobody wants to kill any human. It's unethical, it's not good for their goodwill. It can destroy their brand value globally. And on the other side, whatever Quran said, saving one life, saving the whole humanity, killing one person, killing the whole humanity. So that's their ethical responsibility to make sure everyone is safe every day, every second, every minute. No, ensure that there is a continued development of expertise, especially with new law and technology. Provide adequate resources and time for risk analysis. So the senior leadership is responsible even to provide adequate resources. Like you have responsibilities, but no authorities or no required resources. Can you be accountable? No, you can't be, because you need responsibilities, of course, well allocated, and accordingly, you need some authorities, and based on that, of course, some required resources. Might be you have 20 different responsibilities, but you are very poor in 5 of the responsibilities, and you need certain trainings, and nobody is listening you. And these 5 weak areas of your responsibilities would be terrible for the whole organization. That is why the top leadership level, they have to be diligent, and I would say committed to provide training, especially the scenario based, planning based, and listen to the process experts. That should be their continual habit, I would say. Ensure the organization manager reviews contractors and third party competency, communicate effectively. So the leadership have to be very much sure what level of third party contractors they are using. Sometime as a matter expert for HSE and QHSE, whenever I visit different sites, maybe for risk assessment, maybe for audits, maybe for certain trainings, I noted personally that direct employees of the company, let's take an example of Schlumberger. Their direct employees, the employees directly hired by Schlumberger or Halliburton or even Weatherford, they are, very highly competent. But when we see the contractors, they are misfit. Many of the contractor employees, they are misfit. But sometimes the customer think they have no other choice, so they start motivating and developing their contractors. They have contractors development plan or suppliers development plan, and they start motivating them to train your employees. And sometimes whenever they arrange internal trainings, they call contractors employees as well. So why they're doing this? Because one man mistake can destroy everything, right? Okay, guys. So the provision of adequate resources is also important. Appropriate resources should be made available to ensure a high standard of process safety management throughout the organization. So complete each process of your organization, whatever required resources required, you have to provide. Whatever required resources are needed there, you have to provide. And these appropriate resources can be, let's take an example of human, like I mentioned, right person for the right job. And make sure the financial and physical resources are also available. And under resourcing, process safety is a risky business. So under resourcing, that means lack of resources, of course, is a bit of danger game. So I will not recommend to play. Now, process safety objectives and targets. So you truly have to establish the overall objectives. You need to set some targets like stepping stones, the overall objective, which must be published throughout the organization. And then, of course, you need to set some targets, with time bound and stepping stones. Then, of course, you require to monitor the progress of indicators, leading or lagging. Lagging is a failure, leading is success. Leading means proactive approach. Proactively, you are doing risk assessment. Proactively, you are doing risk analysis. Proactively, you are having hazard analysis or job safety analysis. Proactively, you have process studies, and proactively, you are putting some better controls accordingly, and this is how you are leading your success. But lagging means you are learning from your accidents or something happened, but still it's not bad. At least you are capable to learn from your mistake, or kind of whatever the error, either belong to human or your process. Of course, after lesson learned, you implemented some effective controls to make sure it is not going to happen again. Why might process safety be considered a continuous improvement process? This is again food for thought for all of you. Suggest some practical ways in which organization can seek to improve. So please research and learn something. Be a passionate self-learner. But anyhow, for continuous improvement, as per NEBOSH, what you exactly required: organization change, new processes and products, new operational conditions, technology change, new equipment available. So continually, if you truly want to ensure continuous improvement, of course, you have to learn all the new process and products, operational conditions, new technology available in the market, benchmarking to other organizations. There is no harm if Saudi Aramco is doing something good. Some other companies, they can visit their sites and see how they are maintaining this continuous improvement process, and no harm to benchmark and follow their best practices. Now, legislation and guidance changes because government is also involved. As a government of any country, of course, no government want any accident within their country, because that would also create a bad goodwill of that country, and no other countries would definitely avoid start giving certain projects or installing, having some different manufacturing or high hazardous industries. It's the overall responsibility of the state also to make sure, some legislation and guidance changes are also there, and you need to keep an eye on what are the new research documents or new regulations are there, which you truly need to follow to ensure continuous improvement. Okay, guys, so that was all about process safety leadership. So think as an examiner, create some questions by yourself and have some MCQs, even though the answer is already there in the presentation. Now, organizational learning, the third part of this process safety leadership, the first element of this training. What is organizational learning? You truly have to discuss in groups, like think about incidents you have been involved in. What was the most significant in terms of actual injury or harm? What had the greatest potential for injury? Do you think you learned all you could from the potentially serious event? So what lesson you learned? Now, the learning lessons, what is the best idea is to investigate based on the potential and the actual consequences. Potential and actual. Actual consequences, of course, normally we understand, but what are the potential consequences? That should also be taken seriously. Now, do not downplay the incident as a near miss. Near miss for process industries, high hazardous industries, and one of the most important element, so proactively you can understand what can go wrong in future if you cannot take this near miss. So make sure every employee at every stage or within any process, make sure they are well convinced from your side to report any sort of near miss. Hiding the near miss, remember, it will lead to terrible incidents in future. But how are you going to convince? Imagine if you have 5,000 employees or 500 employees or 300 employees, even 100 employees, how are you going to convince them, please report near misses? Don't hide them. There is no blame shame, it's an important sort of safety culture you need to develop. So people love to report near misses. So proactively, you can take some preventive measures and make sure, there is no chance of incidents or accident in future, inshallah. But remember, accidents not investigated could happen again with more serious consequences, like chemical reaction causes pipes to damage or heat up. If ignored as a near miss and not investigated, later results are chemical release and serious injuries. So even the smallest near miss must be reported. Like from any pipe, even one drop of leaking is there, the plant operator must inform to the safety guys or to the plant manager that there is one drop leaking from a certain point. Because just one drop is not only, is creating some fumes, it has some danger zone to be created. And if any ignition source is there, oxygen is there, fuel is there, through drops, and only heat is missing. And this heat, maybe someone can smoke unintentionally, maybe, someone dropped something on the pipe, and because of this rubbing, some ignition sources there, what would happen? Explosion. It's all over. You don't get second chance, Now, you have to understand what are the immediate causes and what are the root causes, immediate and root causes. So what is immediate cause? Unsafe act or condition that lead to the consequence harm or damage. Could be spillage, failure of a vessel, removed guard. And what is root cause? Underlying circumstances that allowed immediate cause to happen. So please understand this immediate cause and root cause. So don't mix them. Otherwise, it would be difficult to interrogate properly. A flammable liquid has overflowed from a vessel during the filling operation. The liquid is transferred via pump to a vessel, whether it is metered and based on the transfer time and pump speed. Suggest some reasons, root causes for the incident. What could happen in a flammable liquid has overflowed from a vessel during the filling operation. The liquid is transferred via pump to a vessel where it is metered and based on the transfer time and pump speed. The transfer time and pump speed, two factors they were measuring actually to make sure it is well filled. But what would have happened, what are the root causes? So you need to start thinking and take some time. Otherwise, see the possible root causes. Now, pump change for a higher rate, no poor management or no management or poor management of change process, no or failure of high level alarm, no automatic cutoff, operator error could be there, poor initial risk assessment, process changes, or might be the bigger batches like design intent. So these are some of the root causes. So you have to start thinking as a process safety engineer in a very technical manner. Or like a general ordinary safety officer, they are more like, involved in record keeping or having some wizards or supporting some toolbox meetings or ensuring PPs are being, but you as a process safety engineer have to get involved in depth. That means you need to black your hands, be involved, be engaged at every process and see, have a better capability in process study. Now, reason for investigating accidents and incidents, why we need to investigate, again, the examiner can create a question here and he will put some, multiple options, and we'll see either you can give the answer, the right answer, or you just have some still. So make sure you understand what are the reasons why we investigate accidents and incidents. So before you study NEBOSH theories, no harm to think within your brain, why we So otherwise, remember few of this one: to identify root causes of the incident, to identify the root causes of the incident, to prevent the incident happening again, to update risk assessment, to document a record on the details for further use, to meet the legal requirements, to enable patterns and trends to be discovered, and demonstrate a desire to improve, and also to determine if there any disciplinary actions are needed. So these are the important elements why we need to investigate the incidents and accidents. Now, what are the benefits if we start investigating the accidents and incidents? What would be the benefit? So, benefits of investigating accidents and incidents: causes can be addressed through revised risk assessment. It's an opportunity for you to revise risk assessment. You know, the biggest room in the world is the room for further improvement. So don't expect that one time you have created a risk assessment and now 6 months or 1 year, no review at all. While on the other side, you added certain machines, you added certain area of, and you hired different employees, you have some amendments in certain building or the site layout, and your risk assessment is still the same. So make sure you found a reason, a cause to revise your risk assessment. Fewer serious events should occur. Achievement of legal compliance also, it will help to assist with any civil claims. Workers will feel valued. Any disciplinary actions will be fairly tackled, because of this investigation. Now, retention of corporate knowledge. The corporate knowledge, how much, what kind of corporate knowledge you truly need to avoidance of corporate amnesia. Avoidance of corporate amnesia. That means retain information from it rather than relying on individuals. You need to retain, take some backup of all informations. Don't rely on individuals, So make sure you are retaining all formal informations, and especially the lesson learned and decisions and designs. So please remember this retention of corporate knowledge. You have to avoid from corporate amnesia. What is mean that retain information firmly rather than relying on individuals. So don't rely on individuals, rely on the system. The system says you need to retain. There must be a backup of every sort of informational record, which would be supporting you, especially if some of the data belong to the lesson learned from the previous incidents, different scenes. That's also the history of the scenes we require, and the design patterns gradually if you upgraded or or whatever designs are there, make sure you have a complete history with. So lesson learned and benchmarking, yes, lesson learned, finding of action and incident investigation, striving for continued improvement. So whatever the lesson learned, make sure you have certain findings of action and incidents well recorded, and accordingly you are striving for continual improvement. So continual improvement is the major goal, or I would say the prime goal. So what you need to benchmark, comparing an organization against what? He can create a question, what is benchmarking? And he will give some, or what are the examples of benchmarking? So he will give some multiple options. And remember, the comparing on an organization against another organization, a national standard like HSE, accident statistical publications, or operational standards. So make sure you understand what exactly you are benchmarking. Are you benchmarking some of the standards of OSHA? Are you benchmarking some of the internal SOPs of Saudi Aramco or Sadara or SABIC or Royal Commission or some others? You just need to be clear enough, or you are benchmarking some of the standards from ASTM or API, American Petroleum Institute. So whatever standard you are benchmarking, make sure you clearly understand and start comparing, especially with the organizations already getting some successful results. Okay, guys, there is another group discussion, but still That's only you need to think about again. How do you share the lesson learned from incidents within your organization? What is the best way to share the learned lessons within your organization? Is it a two-way process? Do you also hear about incidents? Why do you benchmark against you? So there are sources of process safety management information. Process safety management information is necessary for the safe operation and maintenance of process plant and should be what? Documented, reliable, current, and easily available to the people whenever, wherever they needed it, and whomever required this particular information. So make sure all the process safety management informations are well documented, reliable, current, and easily available, accessible to the concerned process owners. Now, what are the sources of process safety management informations? In the previous slide, it was all about why it is required. It should be documented, reliable, current, and easily available. Now, what are the key sources? Like you must have some STS related to a certain process, safety data sheet, process design criteria, process flow diagram, PFDs must be with you, SOPs like safe operating procedures, inspection, audit, and investigation reports, maintenance records, piping instrument diagrams, process control systems, relief system design, fire detection, and protection plans. So all these internal informations must be easily available. It's not like, oh, I'm the safety manager or I'm the project manager and I need to keep all the information in my cabinet. No. It must be easily accessible to the process owners, the people. Like if a welder is doing a welder or a driller is involved in drilling operations, so they need certain SOPs to be easily accessible. If a chemical is there and you are putting STS or MSTS within your cabinet, what would be the benefit? Give them, show them, display for the process owners, right? Now, here again, the examiner have a right to create a question. What are the main sources out of the below list? What are the main sources of information for PSM or for process safety? So he can give certain options and see how do you select them. Now, there are some other sources of process information, and that I would say mostly the external one. Information external to the organization, you can use EU directives, European directives, the UK Health and Safety Executive like HSE. You can use like OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Administration of USA. Harmonized European standards can also be referred. British standards, internal labor, ILO or trade association, professional bodies, or even I would say this, international petroleum institutes can also be used. Think about the sources of information available in your organization to assist in process safety management. Are they documented, reliable, current, and easily available to the people who need? So make sure you need to think that all the resources or the sources of information are well available. Now, management of change. This is one of the critical sub-element of this process safety leadership. So, because this MOC, whenever there is a change, it's not like, because one small change will definitely have impact on other processes. Let's take an example. Imagine you have a four-wheeler car, right? And one of the tire is really bad, and you just brought the new one, but all other three tires also not having a good, but still, you believe they will be still working for you. But imagine about the balance, imagine uh, about the safety factor, because one tire you got the new one, and the all other three tires, of course, they will start impacting to the new one, and the whole process would be disturbed. On the other side, imagine if you are changing the belt, the motor belt, and you are not considering the other elements. Imagine you are overhauling the engine and you don't see the impact or what could happen later on if you overspeed or you don't go for a safe drive until the engine is in the running position in a better way. So any smallest change Like today, you are having 2 trains and tomorrow you have 10 trains. Today you have small building and tomorrow the building is expanded. Today you have 1 confined space and tomorrow 5 more are there. So any management of change is there. Don't take it light. It must be recorded. This must be technically, logically evaluated. And then accordingly, you need to accept it or you need to improve further the overall process safety management. Now, the worker engagement, we will discuss later on the components. So let's start with management of change. Now, what is MOC? What is management of change? It's a formally documented process, authorizes changes before they are implemented, ensure relevant safety and process considerations have been made, hazard and risk analysis. So formally a documented process. So in advance, proactively, you are going to understand either this change must be applicable, it would be good enough, what would be the pros and cons, or how bad that change could impact to other processes, or should we go for hazard and risk analysis? So this is the management of a change process, like produce a document detailing changes, carry a risk assessment, get authorization for changes. It's not like without authorization, of course, these changes can't be implemented, document and record changes and consult and inform those affected. And this management of change must be shared with the relevant, the persons, the affected persons. That means the persons who are working into that area where the changes are going to be implemented. Worker engagement is all about consultation and informing. You need to understand the difference and how do you consult with workers. So you need to understand what is consultation and what is, so as an examiner, might be he can create what is the difference between consultation and, or consultation is a two-way exchange of informations. That means 2 parties, in this case, between employer and the worker. This is far more effective than the one-way exchange that we see when people are simply informed. So consultation is a two-way exchange of information between parties. Now, what are the limitations and benefits of consulting? Of course, everything has some benefits, pros and cons, and some benefits or limitations. The benefits of consultation is it will improve relationships, demonstrates commitments, improves safety culture, gains cooperation from workers, harnesses workers' practical knowledge. Because you are consulting, you are not only informing, you are consulting. So it's a two-way process. The person is in front of you. It's a face-to-face discussion. So, but there are certain limitations, like not all matters can be consulted on. It's really hard to discuss everything, takes time, which might not be available. Poor consultation process are worse than no consultation. So make sure your consultation is effective. Otherwise, if your message will go wrong, of course, nobody would be supporting at all. Now, when consultation is needed, that's another important point you need to bear in your mind. Whenever you are introducing change that could affect the health and safety, new plant process work methods, make sure you are consulting. You are calling, safety meetings, you are having some toolbox meetings, or you are having some get together, and make sure you discuss all the new changes you are introducing. Now, whenever you are implementing new technology, you have to consult, not inform. You need to consult, and it's a two-way communication. Now, when appointing safety advisors, make sure you have better consultation, development of training plans, you need consultation, reviewing health and safety performance, learning lessons from incidents and near misses. As a training manager or as a trainer, I always recommend to the companies, please call us. We will sit with you. We will understand the competence level, the current competence level of all the individuals, and will recommend you some customized trainings to enhance the competence level of your employees. And if you already have done training need assessment, share with us, and we will design, customize, or might be already we would have some trainings, which we can offer to improve the competence level of your workforce. But remember, consultation is much, much better than informing. Now, what are the types of consultations? So it's important slide because examiner have a right to create a question here, like what are the types of consultation, and he can give some options, maybe safety committees like worker and management representative, discussions groups, so volunteers interested in a topic, safety circles like ideas sharing group, departmental meetings, health and safety discussions, allow workers to voice concerns, email and web forums like helps engagement. So these are some types of consultation like safety committees, discussion groups, safety circles, departmental meetings, email and web forums. Now you can watch this video. The link is already there. What was the following video of a health and safety committee? So new discussion, what is the committee proving to be ineffective? What would you change? So watch this video and ask this question and find out the answer. Why do we need to include workers? A very much important point, because in process safety, of course, every brick have a value. We can't ignore any person or any employee. Now, why include workers? As I told you, it's very much important point here. It's necessary for what? For better understanding and involvement results and better solutions. Because like you have SOPs, you have certain kind of work instructions, you have plenty of process flow charts and kind of guiding documents or operational uh, systematic documentation. But imagine if your employees don't understand, like you have SOP, but they don't understand because you didn't discuss with them, you didn't get them involved, you just prepared by yourself. Now, engagement should be a priority. Do not allow it to fall by the waysides, and schedule meetings and activities, hold people accountable. So at the end, they must be accountable. If you're not engaging them, they will not feel accountability. So involve them and get them fully engaged. Like if you're doing, let me give an example. If you are doing some changes in the process, maybe a welding process, and you're not getting involved, you're not discussing at all with the welders, what will happen? They'll not feel accountability later on for sure. Now, the competence, the last sub part of this process safety leadership is all about competence. So let's start. The ability to undertake responsibilities and to perform activities to recognize standard or regular basis is a combination of practical and thinking skills, experience, and knowledge. So it's a combination of skills, experience, and knowledge. So remember SEK, skills, experience, and knowledge. When this triangle meeting together, with this combination, you can say the competence is well achieved for a particular person or the employee. What is the role of competence in the safe working and behaviors? Training in how to do the job safely, operational procedures, emergency procedures, benefiting of training and understand the job. So work safely also, train to understand and write first time. So these are some of the role of competence in safe working and behaviors. This is training metrics. I would appreciate if you guys can go back and check within your company, do you have this metrics? You just mention all the rules and see either they have basic induction, permit to work, lockout, tagout, or isolation, risk assessment, management of fire extinguisher, or certain other trainings, whatever required as per the job nature. So this metrics will give you an idea, how you need to enhance competence further. The competency analysis must be your continual part of your continual improvement. It's not like one time you did it and later on you forget to update it. It must be whenever somebody is well trained or he attended maybe a PTW training like permit to work. So don't forget to take here, because for this production operator, he attended permit to work. So if he is attending more and more training, don't you think he'll be more productive? But make sure, first of all, they are trained with the relevant trainings to their profession. It's not like giving all the trainings and then later on, you call of all trades, must of none. So make sure You designed, you planned, you customized trainings as per the nature of their job or as per the profession. I hope you understood. That's why training need assessment is very much important. Now, what is the competency management? How are we going to manage this competence? Make sure, first of all, you have established policy, determine minimum competency standards, recruit workers, assess competency as an ongoing process, maintain and develop skills, analyze skill gaps, build emergency management skills, and gain ownership and commitment. And most importantly, ensure their continually development, because it's a high hazard industry. So competence level should be enhancing day by day for every of your employees. Now, process safety training must be part of all the departments or at every level, like especially for the process safety leaders, even for the managers, supervisors, designers, safety advisors, newly qualified managers, operators, and even technicians. All have to be trained for this process safety. They must be joining or attending this process safety training. So if you need any trainings for your technicians, for operators, we can customize based on OSHA or based on OSHA standards or based on some of the NEBOSH theory. So we will customize some better, easy to understand training for your operators and technicians even. So if you need this training, just feel free to contact me 00966 59 3439. Otherwise, NEBOSH PSM already for the managers, supervisors, designers, even safety advisors, or newly qualified managers, of course, they can join directly the NEBOSH PSM. But if you brought in the technicians and the operators, it would be harder for them to pass the exam. So it's better to customize and redesign the training material for them to easy to understand. But the benchmarking must be like OSHA standards or ASTM or API or some of the combination from NEBOSH theories even, and some practical examples. But remember, the training should include the standard operations, non-standard operations like shutdown, etc., emergency training as well. So that was the summary of element one, process safety management. Meaning we discussed like PSM meaning. We discussed about PSL like process safety leadership. We discussed about OL like organizational learning. We discussed about MOC means management of change. We discussed about we, that means worker engagement, and also the competence. And that was the video of element one of process safety, NEBOSH process safety management training. And stay tuned for the second video for the element two, that is all about management of process. And until then, thank you very much. And hopefully you will be getting some benefit out of this video. And feel free to contact us for any further trainings, or please subscribe our channel, share this video with your friends, with your colleagues, especially in safety profession or in engineering profession. It will be helping them a lot, inshallah. It is not costing you anything, just you need to spend some time, watch again and again, and see how it would be beneficial for all of you. And please don't forget to give us your feedback through the comment, or you can note down my WhatsApp number 00966 59 Usually it's hard to respond to the call, so please WhatsApp. So surely I will reply, whenever I'll get time, inshallah. Thank you very much. Bye bye.